In today's episode, I show you how I make and set up an anvil stand. We receive the new Russian Stanko. And you're gonna wanna hang on until the end because we've got an incredible Christmas special from Will.
Today's episode is brought to you with the support of Audible, which has the world's largest collection of audiobooks. Get started with a free trial at audible.com/forge or by texting FORGE to 500 500.
As you can see, this stand wasn't designed for this anvil. It's actually way too low for me. But how do you know at what height you should have your anvil? Well, it depends on the work that you're doing. If you're doing really heavy work, you're going to want the anvil to be a little lower than if you're doing light work. If I was wailing away on a really chunky bit of steel with a big heavy hammer, I might quite like it a little lower. But if I'm doing light work, I'm going to be hunched over a little bit too far. There are a few general rule of thumbs, which are putting your knuckles on an anvil face. For me, that would mean this needs to be lifted up a couple inches. And then when you're hammering, your arm is at nearly full extension, but still has a little bend in it. Something I also think is quite useful is making sure you can put a bar of steel between your legs, because you'll frequently use your legs as a third hand when you're working. And if your anvil is too high, it doesn't go so good. If you hit the bar of steel, you're going to end up with some uncomfortable feelings. For me, the bar test works just great. And as a 5'8" chap, that means this anvil wants to be about 32¼ inches off the ground, or 820 millimeters, which means we've got to make a stand that's 21 inches high. And so let's cut some steel and get going. Okay, so here's what we got. We have some rectangular tube, we got some flat bar, we got some 10mm plate. It's all quite simple from here. We're gonna lay our legs in place. We'll tack weld on the sides first. That way we don't get any of this warping. We'll then weld it all around, flip it upside down, put the feet on it, and there's really not a whole lot to overcomplicate about this stuff. I cut the legs at 12 degrees. If you struggle with maths, you can use a little calculator to work out what you need to cut it at. So here we go, we'll get welding. Okay, so we have 4 threaded holes. We have holes for filling the legs with sand, which we have done. We're now going to put the anvil on it, but something to consider. One of the unique things about this anvil is obviously we have 4 mounting holes, but that means we're putting a lot of force through these feet, so it's important that it's on a flat surface. From welding, this has picked up slight arch, so I wanted to put some gasket paper down. The motor parts store was shut, so we'll just silicone the anvil down if we ever want to break it off. We'll heat up the base with the torch, and it'll be good to go. Alright, we've got this stand looking rather nice. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. We're now going to get these holes put to use by making some racking. We're going to make a handy place to put some hammers, as well as a good spot for one of your brushes. Okay, so right now it is the next morning. This part of our anvil stand rack does need to get remade though, because somewhere I've miscalculated my maths and we've run out of material. But there's something standing in the way of that. There is a big cast iron Russian lump of metal in the way of that, which isn't actually so bad. We've got the lifting equipment out, and that can only mean one thing. In a few moments, we should be having our Russian Stanko arriving on a truck. Now, I thought the truck they sent last time was big. This one is even bigger, and it makes this power hammer look quite dainty and small in comparison. So in the past, we've been able to crane things in through this door. We did it with the lathe. When I first ever moved into this workshop 3.5 years ago, that's how we did it. What we're probably gonna have to do with this machine is drop it on the ground, hopefully not drop the power hammer. Too soon? Too soon. We're going to place it on the ground and then forklift it in. Right, I've got to get this machine spun around and in place, because we're not going to be able to do much forging with our back to a steel rack. So with the power hammer turned around in the right orientation, I've gone ahead and started making a little bit of planking for it. Now, you don't strictly need this, but the floor here has like an epoxy coating on it. It's really, really weak. It cracks, it crumbles, it's very fragile, very loose on the surface, and I just don't want to make it worse. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this plywood with a little bit of rubber underneath it between the concrete. It's got these cutouts on it to accept a toe jack. It is my strong belief that every machine should have a way to get a crowbar or a toe jack under it. So having a cutout in the base means at least we'll be able to get under there and lift it and move it when we need to. There we go. Whew. We're on the ground. Oh, what is this? Ah, good. Been waiting for this. This is exciting. Thank you, sir. Woohoo! Appreciate your help. Have a lovely one. So just as I get that power hammer finished up on the ground, this arrives. There is something magical in this box. All right, this is going to be a project. Well, okay. I think I was being a bit of a drama queen. That wasn't bad at all. The trouble is, it's upside down. And here at the workshop is only me and a dog. So guess who's about to do something silly? Oh, wow. Everything in a metal workshop is just heavy. Oh. Hello, Yogo. I think she thinks it's stupid. Oh, I've got a little idea. It actually worked out great. I played Jenga with these very sketchy blocks, managed to not crush myself, then put this bar on it, clamped it using the table, and had myself a nice lever with which to gently lower the welding table. These welding tables are phenomenal. It's called a Rhino Cart by Stronghand Tools. This is their metric version, obviously, since we're here in the UK. So it has 16mm round holes spaced 50mm apart. In the US, they're 5/8 inch round spaced 2 inches apart. Now, why do you want a table with a whole load of holes? Well, if you're a welder and you're the type of person that's likely to buy one of these tables, you know why. It's because of all the fixturing capabilities of having these precisely laid out holes. Not only can you clamp stuff, but when you're making parts, you can go ahead and set up 90-degree angles and all sorts of other fun things and turn this thing into an incredibly modular jig. Now, I'm very excited about all the tooling in this workshop, but I am giddy that I at last have another one of these tables, because after having used the one in Montana, I wouldn't want to be without it. Now, it kind of seems like the table was the missing component in this entire workshop. Well, the power hammer too, because now that I was able to get the table in place, I've made a lot of progress. It's helped me be able to take that step to moving a lot of things into a closer to final position. We recently made this here Anvil stand, and I want to make a little tool holder that fits in this hole. We got all our steel cut, and it includes some steel for tools. We're going to make 2 punches and 3 drifts. We turned our upright on the Harrison lathe. It's now onto grinding the tools we made. got all our holes put in. We have 12 bits of 6mm round cut. These are going to be our rivets, but since they don't have heads, I've got to make sure I have a spacer. Well, hey, there we go. That is exactly what I wanted. When you're working here at the anvil, you put your hammer down and then it falls on the ground. Here is a little tray that I can move around wherever I want. So that is a success. And with that, it's back to the Montana shop for our Christmas special with Mr. Stelter. 'Twas the week before Christmas, and all through the shop, nothing was clean, not even the mop. The team sat in silence without a hint of glee, for the decor was barren, no star on the tree. When all of a sudden Will jumped to his feet, an idea blossomed, he grabbed paper sheet. Layer after layer, nothing would suit. He tried to embellish, but it just wasn't cute. So a wicked and dangerous ornament he'd make. To liven the spirits, the plan was high stake. Edges and bevels to sit high in the air, to the four corners of the shop, the joy it would share. From steel and fire, 5 points it shall need. It's not satanic, but could make you bleed. Perched way up high, 7 feet off the ground. If it falls your way, you may be hospital bound. Shiny and black, of knife and spear, whether you like it or not, it shall bring you Christmas cheer. The world's most dangerous Christmas star, to bring a holiday smile to those wide and far.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. In today's episode, we're going to be building the world's most dangerous Christmas star.
That's right, because we're making it out of knives and we're putting it on top of a tree. So, where we're at right now is I took 5 pieces of 1.5 inch thick by 2 inch wide by 5 inch long material, and I started forging my 5 knives out of them. Now I started breaking it down because obviously a 1/2 inch thick is way too thick for a knife, and so we started breaking it down, thinning it out, and starting to forge in our shape. So now that we've got that stock broken down a little bit, we've isolated our handle, we're gonna go ahead and forge out our tips and forge down our bevels. Well, we've got our 5 knives forged out. They've got a nice profile to them. They've got tips, they've got bevels, they're looking good. And while the forge is still hot, we're gonna slice off a piece of 3 inch round stock. We're gonna punch a hole in the middle, and we're gonna make this nice looking steel donut that we're gonna weld all of our knives and our mounting system to. All right, our Christmas steel Krispy Kreme centerpiece is now finished up, and we can now take our knives into the grinding room. We're gonna get the final profiles dialed in, make them look nice and aggressive for a chef's knife, get our bevels ground in, and then we're gonna get them nice and sharp, because it wouldn't be a dangerous Christmas star if these knives couldn't legitimately hurt you. Now we're gonna get the base for this thing wrapped up, both literally and figuratively, because we're gonna take a piece of 1/4 inch mild steel and we're gonna forge ourselves a tapered cone spring. I don't know how that's gonna work, but we're gonna make it happen. This is actually pretty challenging. I wasn't Wasn't expecting this to be like a particularly hard thing to forge, but this coil does not really want to come together. I think that ought to do it. Merry Christmas, everybody. I had a ton of fun getting to build the world's most dangerous Christmas star, and I found out that I have a gift for poetry as well. So come the new year, as I'm working in my own business, it's going to be 50% poems, 50% knives. That's not true. It's going to be only poems. Merry Christmas and a happy New Year. But before I end it, let's thank today's sponsor.
Today's video is made possible with Audible. They have the largest selection of audiobooks anywhere, and I am such a fan of learning from people's life stories and hearing instructional content through the audiobook platform. It allows me to do other things. In my morning commute, I can hear tales of action and adventure, and while working in the workshop, I can hear the life stories of successful businessmen. I've been listening to Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson, and I got onto this book because I saw Mr. Beast had been listening to it, and I wanted to have a listen. And it's been great so far. It's been really interesting to learn more of the history of Apple computers, and listening to biographies is such a great way to pick up a few little tidbits of wisdom from people's successes and their failings. And so this holiday season, I really hope that you go and get yourself a free trial of Audible, because it now includes one free audiobook of your choosing and full access to the Audible Plus catalog, absolutely free. Visit audible.com/forge or text FORGE to 500 and you can get started. Thank you. Bye-bye.